So I thought I would comment on this video that I saw earlier. Now, there is a machine within the right wing where they're trying to delegitimize various groups. And this time, this is their effort to delegitimize people with disabilities on benefits. So let's have a listen, and we'll just hear from Zelda from Terrahawks first.
Now we move on because this show is all about a heated debate, someone once said. Now, more than 500,000 households could be receiving more in benefits than those on average salaries. New analysis suggests that over 600,000 households were paid more than £32,000 in welfare last year, and a staggering 16,000 received an excess of 60,000 in benefits. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has said we need to get Britain working again.
Get Britain working again. There are too many people who are on welfare because it pays more to be on welfare than in work. We also need Labour to stop destroying jobs up and down the whole country. They are killing jobs with their jobs tax, with business rates, and businesses are giving up.
So as you can see here, they talk about how people on benefits are better off on benefits. I mean, they don't mention any particular figures or talk about anything like in relation to what kind of people are on benefits, because a lot of people on benefits actually are working. And the reason they have to claim benefits is because I don't think anybody, I think we're living on a 2008 wage in 2026, which is absolutely ridiculous, because if we didn't have such low wages, then we wouldn't need to be claiming benefits to top them up so that we can do the basics, you know, pay the water bill, pay the electric and gas, eat a bit of food once in a while. I mean, if you fancy it, obviously, you know, don't go overboard. Woo, you know, have a biscuit. Don't have two. You can't afford it. And then they make out that it's not that it's everybody on benefits is somehow just lazy. They're just sitting around on benefits all day. Just sitting around on benefits in the bathtub, drinking champagne. You know, because that's what they do. That's their life. So they presume that that's what they would do if they weren't working. Kemi Badenoch wasn't working. What would she do? Shop? Go out? Lunch a lot? I mean, she does that anyway, mostly on the taxpayer. But no, it's not. It's because people can't afford to feed themselves, to clothe themselves, to heat themselves. And people do, you know, have families that they need to pay for. The children don't go out to work. You have an adult earning 25,000. Maybe they're a single parent. Maybe they've got two children. They've got to make 25,000 pay for everything for that family, and that's not going to cover it. That's just not enough money to live on. So what they need to do is they need to claim a bit of a top up on the benefits.
Right, okay, Michael, let's come to you first on this one. What on earth is going on? How can you be better off just sitting at home doing nothing than going to work?
Well, I think it depends what you mean by better off.
Because obviously this kind of story is designed to make people feel resentment. Say some people have it so easy, I'm going out to work, I'm working so hard. Based on an article...
Which is quite an accurate feeling, to be honest with you.
Well, let me finish my point. It's based on an article on Neil O'Brien, who's a Conservative MP. Not once does he mention in his blog, you know, supposedly original research, that these are all people, all households where one of the adults has a severe disability. Now, quite frankly, I think if someone has got a severe disability in a household and they've got some children, they probably do need a bigger income than me, right? They've got carers coming in. There are lots of costs involved with being a severely disabled person. And I think any civilised society, if you've got someone who can't work,
most of the time, the carers they have are actually unpaid. They're relatives. They could be their children, for example, or their spouse, or their brother or sister, or even, you know, their own parent, or they could be a carer for their parents. So, you know, a lot of this is kept within the family. And obviously, if you're going to be a full-time carer for somebody, you're not going to be able to work. You don't have the time to work when you are caring for somebody 40 odd hours, 80 hours a week.
Then it is our responsibility as a community to pay towards the cost that they can have a life worth living.
The problem problem with that answer, and I understand where you're coming from. I mean, obviously, anyone who's severely disabled needs all the help they can get. But these figures include households with one adult in receipt of disability benefit, even if other adults in the family are fully able to work. But they don't.
As I said, the reason they don't is probably because they're a full-time carer, which, you know, is a lot of hours per week. And as she said, everybody with a severe disability deserves all the help they can get, full stop. But she doesn't. Everybody with a severe disability deserves all the help they can get. But there should be no but. In a civilised society, there would be no but. We would just say, yeah, these people are disabled. They can't work. They need perhaps 2 or 3 carers. We can pay those carers a good wage. We can pay that person on disability a good amount of money to have a fulfilling life that they can enjoy, and we would just move on with it. But we don't live in a civilised society in England. We pay some of the lowest benefits in the whole of Europe. I mean, it's really pathetic when you see the kind of what people get for benefits. And I think that really, during COVID, certainly a lot of people's eyes were opened up to that. But then that kind of feeling of being all together and realising that people on benefits don't have a lot to live on kind of disappeared again when COVID was over. It's like empathy is something that people just switch on and off when they fancy it.
So they still get benefits. What do you make of this story, Matt?
I think it's completely insane. I mean, the average salary for a British worker in this country before tax is £32,000 a year.
I hate when they use average salary, because average salary isn't what most people get. Average salary is nowhere near what most people get. Most working class people are earning 26,000. The people earning an absolute fortune bring the average salary up. In fact, you can see that in the fact that the average salary is only 32,000. That shows you how many people are on very low wages, that the rich people can only bring the average salary up to 32,000.
There are now, according to the analysis, more than 600,000 households which are given more than the average worker salary in this country. In fact, Dawn, there are 91,000 households that are given more than £50,000 a year in welfare payouts, and 16,000 that are given more than £60,000 in welfare payouts. And also, what we've not heard about so far is the ethnic breakdown.
Matt Goodwin is a racist. We knew he was going to make it a racism thing. He's a well-known racist. He doesn't like black and brown people. I mean, he's an equal opportunity hater because he doesn't like the gay people. He doesn't like trans people. I'm not sure how he feels about women in general, to be perfectly honest with you. But he certainly is a racist. So he brings in these people, blah, blah, blah. And we'll hear now a perfectly reasonable explanation from Michael Walker.
In these figures, now let me just make one point because it's important. The percentage of households headed by a working person claiming at least £30,000 a year in benefits, among white Brits, the share is 3.6%. Among Pakistanis, it's 8%. Among Arab families, it's 10%. Among Bangladeshi, it's 12.3%. In other words, nearly 1 in every 8 Bangladeshi households in this country are claiming at least £30,000 in welfare payments. What on earth is going on? The new divide in politics is between people who work and people who have worked their whole lives, and those who don't work, and those who rely on the welfare state. We've got to reform welfare in this country. It is becoming an absurd joke. These figures are absolutely outrageous.
So what would you do if you've got an adult who is severely disabled, maybe they're a wheelchair user, they need care, they need someone to come in twice a day, for example. That in itself is going to cost more than 30 grand. So do you think we should have a cap that means if you're disabled, if you can't work, then you get that 30 grand, and at that point it just cuts off, no more. If you can't go to the toilet on your own, if you can't get to a doctor appointment, so be it, you've reached your cap.
Well, the whole point about this is that the household benefit cap is no longer constraining the growth of the welfare state as it should be. I would put a question back to you, Michael. Do you think it's acceptable that some of those households are now claiming more than £60,000 in welfare payouts?
I mean, we'll leave it there. But I think the issue being, of course, is when we talk about the welfare system and the welfare payments, most of it is actually pensions. We have a society now who are living a lot longer. And therefore, we have a society, of people that reach pensionable age. There are more people that reach pensionable age. There are more people that are staying on their pensions for 20, 30 years as we go into the average age. And what we really need to do when it comes to pensions is we need to look about making them means tested. Okay, that we don't pay into a pension pot. All right, we pay taxes that pay for the pensions of the people who are available now. Pensions are a benefit, okay? We means test benefit. We need to means test pensions. Millionaires don't need a state pension. We need to give more to people that need it and less to people that don't. They may have paid tax, and they may have paid quite a lot of tax over the time that these worked, but these people who are well off, they've had so much more as well. They've had so much more opportunity. They've led such better lives. They are comfortable in their retirement. They don't need a state pension. We really need to look at means testing benefits. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now, but thanks for listening to me ramble on.